Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dora Mendez. I am the founder and CEO of Coach Dora LLC. Our guests will be entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders that drive social impact. It can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. Welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dora Mendez. And if you're new to our podcast, please, if you like what you hear, like, share, subscribe, and don't be shy about adding your comments. We welcome feedback here. And so this episode is the first episode of January 2025. Happy New Year. January 2025 is also the month that me and my husband, my podcast producer, Dylan Rogers, will be turning 50. And if you haven't seen it already, please know you have an open invitation to join us for our 50th birthday celebration. We are having a 1980s theme dance party. We are converting event space here in the community where we live in Rockland County into a 1980s discotheque, and it's going to be just so much fun. You can buy your tickets now. Just click on the description. You'll see the link there for January 25th, 2025. And if you can't make it in person, instead of a gift, you can send us a gift of a donation to support the work that we do here on the podcast, supporting inclusive leadership and courageous and compassionate leaders. Thank you in advance for your birthday wishes and donations, and we hope you can join us to just have a really great time. There will be raffles, prizes, it's a silent auction. One of those will be free coaching session and great food. We have an open bar. It's going to be just a really fantastic time. And so thank you in advance for buying your ticket and sending your donation. This is a very interesting episode because our usual format is interviewing wonderful leaders and entrepreneurs and executives about their leadership. This podcast is all about supporting you on your leadership journey. And between the seasons, I was inspired to use this podcast platform to provide commentary on leadership trends. And it is January 2025. And something that has been happening lately that caused me to write an article. If you are watching, I'm going to share my screen. And if you are listening, you can see that I've written an article in LinkedIn. You can also find it on my website, www.coachdoramendez.com, news and articles. And I wrote an article entitled, Don't Get Discouraged by Meta's DEI Dismantling. Here's why staying the course matters. So, as a human resources professional and a DEI expert, diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, the past couple of years, there's been a huge backlash against DEI. But what I found is staying the course matters. And why? Part of starting Coach Dora LLC was to support other leaders, other women like myself, entrepreneurs. And part of that is to help support a community of people who care about compassionate and courageous leadership, inclusive leadership, and the bottom line impact is undeniable. DEI is real. DEI isn't just a trend, it isn't about quotas or optics, it's about bottom line impact on your business. So, for example, building a more inclusive workplace fosters innovation, unlocks the potential of diverse workforce, drives strategy, and increases productivities and, yes, profits. So I'm going to stop the share now and just talk a little bit more about why DEI matters and also to encourage my colleagues. I'm in a wonderful WhatsApp group with Latinas Rising Up in HR and my book sisters, my co authors, in an anthology where we each write a story to help inspire the next generation of HR leaders. Part of all of us have been discouraged or our morale or our patience tested in the workplace. But we know that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives work when they're done right. And so when Meta announced that they were dismantling their DEI program, it caused a lot of controversy in the tech field because there are a lot of gaps, gender gaps, pay gaps, gaps for inclusion of people with different capabilities, intergenerational issues. And so that industry has undergone a real DEI reckoning. And Meta, to my surprise, was one of the first tech organizations that really was intentional about bringing women into leadership roles, closing that gap of women in technology. So I was so surprised to hear that they were dismantling the DEI. But at the same time, I realized there's a lot of political backlash and rhetoric against DEI programs because people don't really understand what it is. People don't really understand that creating cultures that are inclusive, where people can bring their best selves to work, where people learn how to respect their team mates and collaborate, effective communication, effective feedback. These are all tangible skills that are necessary to drive innovation, collaboration, and teamwork. Ensuring everyone has access. They're all outcomes of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so while Meta is talking about dismantling, and there's a lot of political reasons why, as you know, at its core, DEI is not about optics or quota. It's about building a more inclusive workplace that fosters innovation, unlocks the potential of diverse workforce, drives strategy, increases productivity, and yes, profits. DEI isn't about putting anyone down. It's about bringing the best out of people so that they can do their best work. And when you have a happy worker, you have better products, better sales, better customer service, higher job satisfaction. And there's real proof and data that DEI programs work. So while Meta is dismantling for all kinds of political reasons, there's a lot of reason why the tech industry is moving away from DEI. And I realize this is very controversial, with the election and the new administration and the Project 2025, declaration of dismantling anything that has caused progress with respect to inclusion in the workplace. And so, because people think that when you help support the least among us, someone else has to be put down. And that's just not the case. It's zero sum game. So, women have made a lot of gains in the workplace, people of color, people of all capabilities. There's a recognition of how to better support the neurodivergent, people with various intellectual disabilities, parents, just people of all identities and capabilities can bring their best selves to the workplace. And that doesn't put other people down. That doesn't put, quite frankly, to be direct, that doesn't put white males down. So this backlash is just that. It's fear, and it is something that we've seen before. So I get emotional because people have said, oh, saying DEI triggers people. I know that despite lip service that I have lost business because people are afraid. But then I have hope. People are afraid of just the term. But I have hope because I know that staying the course matters and makes a difference. And then I think about Costco, another major global corporation that is doubling down on DEI. So at the same time, while the technology industry is moving away from it, now more than ever, they need it. Other industries have seen the benefits and the gains: higher job retention, better customer loyalty. They have seen the gains, and cost companies like Costco's, they're sticking with DEI. They're doubling down on it. They're making more investments because they see the benefits, the bottom line benefits um, of DEI initiatives and programs. So while there's a whole bunch of political reasons I won't get into, very controversial reasons why people are stepping away from DEI, and some people are stepping away from it publicly, but they might be renaming, relabeling, restructuring so that it appears that their DEI program is being dismantled, but really the goals and the gains aren't going to go away. And then there are those who are doubling down, who realize our bottom line impact is positive. Employees are happier, customers are more loyal, better retention, and it's data driven. There are metrics, it can be measured. These are business decisions and skills that are embedded in best practices for your business to be successful. And so, if you need someone to help you with that, to guide you, I'm here. You can reach out to me at Coach Dora M or email me at info@coachdoramendez.com. That's what I do. I partner with organizations and I help them solve their human resources problems through a DEI lens. I usually don't get so emotional about this, but I'm really passionate about bringing the best out of people, creating an environment that supports people, teams to collaborate. I do that also as a professor. I teach a course at John Jay College of Criminal Justice where the students have to work in groups, and they create a nonprofit and then a program on behalf of that nonprofit. And I provide them lots of tools and different methods and options about how to do that. And it's all mission driven. They have to develop a mission. They have to use SMARTY goal setting, inclusion and equity, embed inclusion and equity in their structure and their decision making, and they have to look at their budget and compensation. And so I'm very proud that I'm also helping the next generation of leaders embed equity and inclusion and how they think about their business practices and their management skills. So, the reason I wrote the article was because I want to encourage my colleagues to stay the course and just shout out to Costco's for doubling down and just remind folks that you have data that supports you. You have data that supports you, and if you don't start creating structures to collect that data to demonstrate how valuable the business imperative of DEI is to your organization, to your business. Obviously, there's no perfect method, and DEI only works when it's done right, when it's strategic, when it's intentional, when there's buy-in from leadership on the best practices for creative, inclusive cultures and high-performing teams. That being said, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank all our listeners and viewers for joining us for this January 2025 commentary on staying the course with DEI. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please put any feedback in the comments. If there's any HR, DEI questions, burning questions that you have, that could serve as a commentary for another podcast episode, that'd be great. Thank you. You've been listening to Building Leadership Community. Watch on YouTube at Coach Dora M. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at Coach Dora M. Visit me on the web at CoachDoraMendez.com. Hosted by me, Dora Mendez. Produced by Dora Mendez and Dylan Rogers. Graphics, editing, and sound mixing by Dylan Rogers.